I spent a lot of time carefully picking the ripest newsberries from the topical coffee tree, gently hand pulping them to remove the beans, then drum roasting them to perfection to create the strong yet delicate Italian espresso that is my monologue. But sometimes, I like to throw together a half-finished can of Red Bull with some bath salts and a shot of Fireball to create the lawsuit-ready bootleg energy drink of news that is my segment.
Quarantinewhile.
Quarantinewhile. Quarantinewhile. Quarantinewhile. Quarantinewhile. Quarantinewhile. Folks, I spent a lot of time carefully arranging the biggest stories of the day on my mantelpiece, picking the tasteful floral arrangements, handwriting my ornate placement cards, and measuring silverware placements for the imperial gala that is my monologue. But once in a while, I like to text some college friends, bring out the red Solo cups and that bottle of vodka my roommate left in the freezer in 2003, and slap together the beer pong table of news that is my segment. Folks, you know, I spent a lot of time going through the West Elm catalog of the week's biggest stories, choosing the perfect velvet love seat to pair with a fine jute rug or a rose gold floor lamp to compose the picture-perfect restoration hardware living room that is my monologue. But once in a while, I like to scour a Craigslist free and for sale page and cobble together enough beefaroni-stained chairs, cigarette burnt end tables, and moldy throw pillows to furnish the newly divorced dad's studio apartment of news that is my segment. Folks, you know, if you watch the show, that I spend most of my time with a snifter of fine Armagnac at my elbow, picking the timeliest story apples, selecting the finest, most topical mahogany boards, hand-planing them to a smooth finish, training on the mighty steed of news, soldering the most topical superconductive circuit boards, crafting the newsiest lightweight carbon fiber limbs, studying human movement patterns, and balancing precision internal gyroscopes, curing the finest meaty stories, pairing them with the most savory aged cheeses and cornichons, tracking the temperature and flowering patterns of the maple tree of topical stories so that I can know the exact peak moment to tap it with my spile, laying out the newsiest, most compelling plots, constructing the most topical characters, and composing the timeliest lyrical metaphors to bring you the Pulitzer-worthy magnum opus of a novel that is my monologue. But sometimes, just sometimes, folks, I like to pound a rack of bootleg Four Loko to face a bunch of cutouts from fashion mags with a Sharpie and slap them together with glue sticks, then hijack my brother-in-law's office printer and run down the toner, cranking out the deranged underground zine of news that is my segment. You know, I spent a lot of time combing the news aisles of Party City, selecting the perfect top hat-wearing skeleton, giant fuzzy spider, and remote-operating boiling cauldron to create the dazzling, perfectly crafted front yard of Halloween horrors that is my monologue. But sometimes, folks, I like to rinse out a 4-quart Ziploc of gravy I found in the freezer, filled with raisins, and leave it on the front porch with a Post-it note saying, "Take a fistful for the half-assed Halloween grab bag of news that is my segment." You know, ladies and gentlemen, I spent a lot of time framing the most informative panoramic shots, awaiting the topical golden hour to capture the most breathtaking story vistas, and assembling it all into the David Attenborough-narrated news documentary that is my monologue. But once in a while, I grab an old camcorder, a six-pack of Natty Ice, and run around the woods half naked and hammered to create the blurry, found-footage Sasquatch video of news that is my segment. Folks, I spend most of my time special ordering the day's newsiest, most topical components like the 10th Gen Intel Core i9 CPU, a Gigabyte X570 Aorus Extreme motherboard, an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3090 graphics card, then carefully mounting it all in a tempered glass case with liquid cooling, RGB lighting, and 750-watt PSU to build you the sleek, overclocked custom gaming PC that is my monologue. But sometimes, folks. But sometimes, just sometimes, folks. But sometimes, friends. But sometimes, folks, I like to huff a couple of whippets, hop the razor wire at the garbage dump, strip the cables out of an old Light Bright, steal the battery pack from a discarded RC copter, and run them to the cracked screen of a busted-out flip phone to create the Riverside Vagrant Tetris console of news that is my segment. You know, folks, I spend most of my time guiding the day's most topical news patients to the current events couch, listening as they unspool their issues to me, carefully building trust as we explore their data points and the delicate but healthy psychologist-client relationship that is my monologue. But sometimes, just sometimes, I wake up in the FedEx Kinkos after an all-night bender sniffing the expo markers in the whiteboard aisle. Use the manager's stolen copier code to create a fake diploma and bribe a sanitation worker to help me haul a bed-bug-ridden sidewalk couch into an abandoned office where I invite people to jabber about their problems while I think about my screenplay until they ask me a direct question, which I answer using a magic 8-ball in the unlicensed ad hoc mental health clinic of news that is my segment. Quarantinewhile. In this scenario, am I having sex with a pony?
Just let it go.
But it says baby pony. It's very upsetting. It's very upsetting. I do not approve that intro, but I did enjoy it.